13th.
Mr. Past President Eric Smothers, we're waiting for the Fire Prevention Commission report and the EMS Board report.
You ready, Mr. Chairman? That's 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
All right, I don't really have anything for the Fire Commission. I don't see where
Okay.
the report was submitted. So I do know that the commission meets the 19th in Annapolis. So we do have a meeting coming up. We still don't have a state fire marshal yet. So that's still an ongoing process. So we'll continue to work with that and see if we can't get a fire marshal. Been way too long, so more to follow. So there has been a couple new members to the fire commission, so we're getting up, myself included. I was just appointed to that, and I was not able to meet or make their last meeting. So we meet on the 19th in Annapolis. Or actually in Pikesville. So we'll meet at Pikesville on the 19th. EMS board, I'll tackle that while we're here since that, and Steve and I both said on that. I will say that from the EMS board's perspective, the chairman, Clay Stamp, he wants to express his holiday greetings to MSFA, and he's sorry that he can't be here this weekend because he's at the winter conference at Mako up in Cambridge with all the other county officials. But from him, and Steve and I, one of the hard things for us to do is to suspend or revoke a provider's certification. When you look at how Maryland is structured, you have your regional council meetings, then you have SIMSAC, which I'm the chairman of, that's indicative of all the committees around the state, and then you have the EMS board, who's the final say, and both medical directors. We have representation for MSFA, which Steve is the representation for us, and of course MIMS and the academies. What we've been seeing here recently is a lot of folks losing their certification, and you heard me say a little bit of this last year. Again, we continue to have providers that are showing up and not providing care, and that is one of the worst things that we can do as providers. And it's across the spectrum. It's not just volunteers; it's career folks as well that show up on apparatus. Don't take emergency equipment or ALS equipment into a resident's house, and we have an untoward effect, either medically or the patient expires. And then for some odd reason, the providers, once the jurisdiction takes a look at it, they think that the worst thing that's going to happen to them is that they get a couple days suspension if they're a career provider, or they lose their certification for a short period of time and then want to continue to function. I can tell you the EMS board has taken a very hard look at that. We go in depth to look at the whole incident, and now that we have body cameras from law enforcement entities, we're able to see a fuller picture. And some of them are fairly disturbing, even to the point where we've seen here recently where a provider, clinician, is lashed out to a patient and actually struck him unabated. And folks, again, want to continue to have their certification. Well, that ain't happening. We got to do better. We're better clinicians here in Maryland. I think the message from Chairman Stamp and the medical directors is that when we show up, we got to do our due diligence and do the right thing. It's not the patient's fault that they are in the predicament, whether it's drug, alcohol induced, or some other act that they've got in the middle of. It's us to be there to help treat the patient and do the right thing. and be non-judgmental. So with that in mind, just please go back to the jurisdictions, your counties, and tell folks, just do the right thing. When you show up, doesn't matter what buggy you're in, do the right thing, treat the patients right, treat them with respect, and just do what we're trained to do. The other thing that we're also seeing is a big uptick in providers with either drug or alcohol issues. So the EMS board's common stance has been, over the last couple of years since I've been on the board, is that if one of those issues come up, you're going to be put on probation, presumably, depending on the offense, and or have a suspension in your certification. So if you want to go out and party, nothing wrong with having a few drinks here or there, but do your due diligence and make sure that you got somebody that can get you back home. And if you have a drug or alcohol problem, reach out. We have enough mental health initiatives and folks that can help you with an issue. And we've even had some providers that have actually broken into drug boxes and stuff and taken medications there, believe it or not. So needless to say, those folks no longer have a certification. So that's a big swing. We really didn't see a lot of those. And Steve, if you want to weigh in on it, any of that, if I'm telling anything off cue here, you let me know. But we do our best to try to make sure that we're the best advocate for the clinicians around this state. But there are some things that are like, what were you thinking? You know, I mean, and it's a little disheartening to be able to sit here and say that with providers. So let's just do the right thing. Please get that message out. If you're going to drink and drive, get somebody to get you home, call an Uber if you have that means, or stay where you're at. We don't want to be pulling certifications unnecessarily.
The one thing that I'd also add is if your members do something, make sure they document it. We've had a number of cases where they think because their buddy in the fire station needed some kind of medical attention and they've gone ahead and done it and they didn't document it, and then that's come before the board. So, not a good thing.
Yeah. So don't be like starting IVs on your buddies at the fire station. Don't be practicing your paramedic skills on your buddies at the fire station. That's going to get you in trouble. Unless you are a preceptor or an instructor that gives you the authority to do that. Nothing wrong with that, but just make sure that they are the folks checked off in the box. So we've had a few of those. You know, really, you can't dream some of this stuff up. You know, but I mean, if you need IV practice, that's fine. Just make sure that they're trained to be able to do that. So, I think that was pretty much the highlights there.
Didn't you, for the one meeting, wasn't discussed about spending more time trying to get the patient to go to the hospital than to convincing the patient he or she doesn't have to go to the hospital so they don't have to do a report?
Well, and that's another big one. So, I mean, when we show up and a patient needs to go to a hospital, put them in an ambulance and take them. This thing about, you know, I need to get back to the station for whatever reason because it's the end of my shift or whatever, and it's across the spectrum. Don't try to talk the patient out of it, because typically when you get called back in, the patient's condition is worse or they're in cardiac arrest. And we've seen an uptick in some of those cases too. So, and, you know, if you show up, here's another big one. If you show up and you see a patient, write in the documentation that you actually showed up, because we've had quite a fair amount of those, where people said no patient. Well, if you show up, you had to have a patient. No patient to me means I roll up to the front door and the patient's gone and I don't see anybody. That's a no patient. And I think Dr. Chismar and Dr. Delabridge has addressed that once before. If you show up, patient refuses, just write in the documentation that I've explained what's going on, and the patient refuses, and sign and go on your merry way. But don't just put no patient, because then we come back and then we find out that the ambulance or the medic unit showed up to whomever they were called for, and, well, paramedic so-and-so or EMT so-and-so talked me out of not going, or they didn't do anything when I was here. That's not good, okay? So those are the crazy things that we're seeing from the EMS board. Some of the other things were some regulatory issues that benefit us going forward, just cleaning up some language. Most of the hospitals that we transport to, as Tim said earlier, have been visited by the medical directors and are being recertified, whether it's a trauma center or cardiac or stroke centers or the ERs. That has been taken care of. Also, that's something that I'll switch and go to the SIMSAC that's being field tested in Baltimore City, is the ability to call a physician that may not be here in Maryland. It's I believe Anne Arundel County is looking at this too, so this is something that you're probably going to start seeing around Maryland. It's really done for the first responder units that are responding to a BLS call. You show up, patient may have a fever or a cold or flu-like symptoms, and instead of transporting, what they're doing now is actually calling a physician service that they've contracted through Baltimore City that has emergency department physicians that you call into them. Within 1 or 2 minutes, you get a doc on the line and explain the symptoms to that physician on the other end. And then either they will either write a prescription to your local pharmacist or tell you whether or not you need to actually go to the hospital or not. They try to fix your ailment from a phone call. And Baltimore City is having some pretty good success with that. Anne Arundel's getting ready to look into that. SIMSAC has approved for Dr. Delabridge and Dr. Chismar to continue to look at expanding that across the state. I think that will help with some of our patients that we see that are non-acuity. So unless they're not going to write you off if you're having chest pains or trouble breathing or something like that that's more significant. But some of the minor calls that we see, they may be able to take care of that over the phone. And they're aware of what Maryland protocols are. So you may start hearing stuff about that. So just to let you know that is ongoing. So I'll stop there in case you got questions about either one of those. Buddy?
Go ahead, buddy.
This might be my day, but earlier we talked about not accepting someone from Kansas City with certification. Now we're gonna call somebody when we know?
Well, it is no different. This is no different. I know. This is no different than having online medical direction when you as a provider here in this state can't decide what you need to do with the patient, as we should. So if a physician and a patient says, hey, I don't want to go to the hospital, and the two of you get online, it's no different than me calling up and say, hey, I need online physician direction. What do I do? That's all this is. But if you got someone that is that has difficulty getting around and may not be able to get around their home, and they only have flu-like symptoms, knowing that you're going to go to the ER, I'm going to give you a prescription when you get there, and you wait 4 or 5 hours for a physician to tell you that and send you home and give you a prescription, they can take care of that over the phone. That's all this is. So And Baltimore City's looking at that because of the amount of calls that they run for that jurisdiction. That's the largest end user or EMS across the state. And they're using fire apparatus and all just like they do as first responder units. And sometimes they gotta wait 20 minutes for an ambulance to show up because they're so busy. And this is how they can reduce some of their low acuity patients. If I can call and say, hey doc, you know, so-and-so's got a fever or they've had a cold and they got flu-like symptoms, I don't need to send that patient to an emergency department when all I'm gonna do is write them a prescription for penicillin or something for their cough and cold. Get your unit back on the street faster. So we do that now with medical direction.
So to Buddy's concern, let's go to the more rural areas like where I live. So
Well,
is it an option for them to opt out if they don't want to be part of it? I'm just asking.
It could come to a rural area. They could do that here in Comico County if they wanted to do that. It's giving them the option to take a look at it and see if it's feasible or not. So, and it frees up the emergency departments. So let's look at what healthcare is today. It's, you know, when we're fighting, trying to get ambulances released, when you take a patient to a hospital and you gotta wait 20 minutes to get that unit back on the street because they're waiting for no bed, if I can release that patient right there at home, we do that now with home health care. Comico County has that down here. We're sending a nurse practitioner and a certified paramedic to your house for the frequent flyer calls that we have, and everybody has them, that you show up every 2 or 3 days for Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones. His symptoms are the same, and you're gonna transport him 30 times a year or 40 times a year, when I can send a nurse practitioner and a paramedic and say, Mrs. Jones, we're gonna check on you every 2 or 3 days. Those calls go down. Our calls for service go down. Your unit's more available. Should we not be not doing that?
I'm just asking for the, or you'll say, like in applications, some people don't really like change.
No, I don't think you're
On the initial end.
On the initial, and I don't think you're gonna see a whole lot of change because we can turn a unit around faster and it's actually better for, it benefits the patient. If we can keep them home, it doesn't get them into the portal by sitting in a hospital for 4 or 5 hours when all I'm gonna do is write your prescription and send you home. The serious stuff, yep. I mean, you got some jurisdictions out of state, they're actually just sending people in an Uber and the back and forth for a low acuity instead of calling 911. So we ain't there yet. I hope we don't go down that path, but there are some states that are actually doing that.
Sending people by Uber,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon.
Well, you know, don't be surprised. So it's kind of like, it's like telemedicine. I mean, there's going to come a point in time that we got to use that resource to benefit us. So maybe, okay, here's my laptop. The doc's going to be on the other end. You're going to describe the symptoms. He's going to look at you and he's going to tell the paramedic or the home health care person to do A, B, and C. Well, paramedics and others, I'm going to write a prescription. Here's where his prescription is. You guys can go in service and be back in service. I mean, that's what we're going to want. That's the direction that we're going.
So that's putting us back in the old Gunsmoke days.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, some things is going to benefit us. So, I mean, does everybody fit in that shoebox? No. You know, more serious stuff we're still going to transport. So, you know, some days it's a double-edged sword.
Do you have any more questions? Yes, Tim.
Back on the commission, anywhere with the state fire prevention code?
No, I know legislatively, Bob is looking at some of that code because it's going to come up in Annapolis, and he and I are trying to chat, and I'll know more probably for you in February. So, because sprinklers was coming up, they actually have to have a report done, and Bob said it probably won't be done until the end of their session for that, for about sprinklers and stuff like that, so.
We talking about the fire prevention, Maryland code?
Oh, the Maryland code. All I can tell you that it's moving forward. I have no idea where we're at with it yet, so. I know the superintendent wants to move it forward. The last conversation that I had with him, which was a couple months ago, Maryland is interested in moving that process forward, but again, it falls back into Annapolis, because once you put that out there, Mark knows it's what you gotta abide by, so we're trying to move that forward. Of course, we were lucky enough last year to get the MSOP funding. Even though they say it's gonna get us to 2040, I wouldn't count on that. We'll be lucky if it gets us to 2035, just because of the cost of the increases and stuff. And here's where you can help us, and I've asked the partners to do that at our last meeting that we had here just 2 days ago. We get money from MSOP, even though it's a pass-through. With the tag registration, that money comes back to the departments across the state. Help us help the citizens understand where that money goes for the tag fee. So when you're buying a piece of apparatus, if you're using that money to go purchase your equipment through your 508 funding mechanism, put that on a billboard so folks understand where your tax dollars are going to. It's very easy when a $13 million helicopter flies in and people can put their hands on it, but they may not understand where that ambulance or that fire truck was purchased. And if I use that 508 money to help purchase that, that is part of the tag fee that we get. So the more that we get that message out, and I've asked the trauma center to do that with the increase, it helps us be able to justify to the citizens why your tags went up. So, and trust me, I understand where that is, it being a retiree and not having a state vehicle anymore, because I had to register 3 of them. So I get it. But that just helps us too. And I think for us as MSFA, we need to have that understanding that the monies that we receive through the tag fee helps us. So we need to do our due diligence as MSFA leadership to get that and broadcast that out as well. First Vice President Simpson is part of the VAP standards. I don't think there's any change for that. Folks will be going out around the state and just making sure that folks are in compliance with those standards. Each jurisdiction is different. The one thing to point out is that if you're going to purchase a new unit, make sure that it meets the Maryland standards. They have had a couple folks have VAP inspections that came without onboard suction. I don't know how you purchase an ambulance without having onboard suction. Make sure it's got the oxygen connection in. Make sure it meets the Maryland standard so you can function when you build your unit. We've seen a couple of those across the state. I'm not going to get into the EMS compact again. IV fluids with the hurricane in North Carolina, that wiped out a major manufacturing facility because there's only 2 of them in the United States. So it's been very hard to get IV fluid. So the paramedics and MIMS have sent out information about folks just doing saline locks and not hanging an IV bag. If the patient doesn't need fluid, don't do that. And then also look and make sure that you're not getting some generic IV fluid from some far off distant place, because it may not meet the requirements here in Maryland. So the folks that are ordering those supplies, they should be looking at that. They talked about, Dr. Chismar talked about the site visits already to the counties. They're actually hitting, like say, all the ERs and the base stations and making sure that folks are compliant with that. Tim kind of touched on the EMT recertification process. So starting in 2026, the new EMT recertification process will change. it will give you 15 hours of didactic and 9 hours of skills practice, and it's up to the jurisdiction to figure out how they want to do that. And again, if we talk about the registry, this aligns up with how you do the recertification process. It's going to make it easier for you, because some of the information the didactic hours, you will be able to do some of those online. That's the direction that we're able to do, so you don't have to go to a class, but you will still have to do 9 hours of skills. And Steve and Mifrey and I were a part of that last year, looking at how the skills part is going to roll out. It'll be up to the jurisdictions, but there was, again, when you look at what providers are doing, and we looked at the gamut, career, volunteer, those that ran a lot, those that didn't, those that were trying to blow the dust off of their certification cards, and we saw some pretty horrific stuff with equipment being applied incorrectly and so forth. So this will help the provider. So let's say if you went and did a skills recertification and you didn't do well with the practical skills, they're not going to hold that class up because of everybody else. You may be asked to come back in. We're going to re-educate you. You're not going to lose your certification, but we want to make sure that when people show up to your front door, they're proficient in the skills. I got to do that as a paramedic every 2 years, okay? So when people show up and they tell you at a training session and they say, well, you know, I've never been showed how to properly put in a nasopharyngeal airway, or I watched somebody put a backboard or strap a patient in a backboard incorrectly, or I watch you put a hair traction splint on upside down. Good thing the medical directors didn't see that one. And some other issues. We got to address those. Okay? So part of the new curriculum will be to help shake the rust off of what we do. It's not going to be punitive. We're making this easy, and it's not going to be like this rollout that we had with the EMT written test. Okay, so this is 3 years in the making to get to where we are. So starting by 2026, MIMS, MIFRI, there's still ongoing conversations with them to make sure that we do this right. So we're going to shake the leaves, until you get used to the cycle. It's going to be fine. I think that moving forward, MSFA would be very supportive in how it's going to roll out. It's actually going to be better for the providers. So but the didactic hours, it also allows the medical directors, when they see that, say and Tim mentioned it, if we need to do more work for OB, if we need to do something for cardiac at an EMT level, it allows them to make those adjustments. Okay, so you still got 3 years to do it. So don't wait till the midnight hour, just like now. And a lot of folks say, well, I can't get into a class. Well, you got 3 years. Get your skills out of the way. They stay on your certification card. Once you get that, you're done. Okay? And the same way for the 9 hours. You get your practical skills. Now I got 3 years to get my other 24 hours done. Okay? If you do 8 hours a year, you're good. But some people wait till the very last minute. So we need to change that. That's the provider. That's not the system. But everybody wants to blame MIMS or MIFRI when they can't get in a class. It's the provider not doing their due diligence to get what they need done in a timely fashion. Minor protocol changes that really won't affect you, affect us. I already mentioned about picking up your backboards, unless you want them to walk around Baltimore City and be part of the tent cities down there. Come get your stuff. Can't emphasize, come get your stuff. If you go to the Shock Trauma Center, you now got to go through a weapons screening portal to make sure you don't have any weapons on you. So just be aware of that. think those are the highlights unless anybody's got any questions. It's a lot of stuff, but we're moving forward. So and I guess the other question is, we're really trying to align ourselves with what we're listening to what folks are saying. They want everybody to do the same skills. So in the back of your protocol book, again, probably starting in 2026, there was a bunch of local options. I think there's 21 of them. What we have decided, the BLS, ALS subcommittees for MIMS, SIMSAC, and the EMS board is that once a jurisdiction picks a skill or has a skill and 70 or 80% of the state is doing it, we're just going to roll that into a protocol. And that way everybody can do it statewide, not just doing it jurisdiction. RSI is probably one of those ones that will still be able, you'll do jurisdiction by jurisdiction. But we're hearing what providers are saying, that they want to be able to do what they're doing in Wacomico County out to Garrett County. So, and it gives the jurisdictions a year or two in advance to spool up in case they got to buy equipment to go along with that. So we're making it better. Providers are saying they want to do more skills. It's coming. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Maryland DNR Forestry Service. I don't know if we have a representative here or not. Okay. Maryland Fire Chiefs Association. I know Chief Phillips is at the conference today, so I don't think we have anybody from there. And Maryland DOT, Kevin Fox, I don't believe he has a representative here today either. Okay, and we're going to move into the financial branch and then the convention branch. So there we go.
So good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
You should have received several documents in the report section, which would include the profit and loss, balance statement, and budget versus actual. Any questions on any of the numbers? Outstanding. We're
On the roll.
We're on a roll.
Yeah,
That's a big part. So we are in the middle of the financial review, which is conducted by Fite Connor and Associates, which are located in Lavelle. They've been doing our accounting, checking for many years now. And they are working through both the SAFER grant and all of our general funds. So that report should be ready within the next couple of months. And they will then prepare the tax return for last year and file all that with the IRS. All of the checking accounts have been reconciled as of November 30th, and all of that Maryland local government investment pool accounts have been reconciled as of November 30th. So all of the W-2Gs have been distributed to the winners of the raffle, and our tax liability has been paid to the IRS for those withholdings. The big piece next is to take care of all of the 1099s, which will be for the widows and orphans, the Bessie Marshall Fund, and our staff. So we'll take care of those documents to get the filings for their tax returns. We need to have all of that done by the end of January. So we have been working on the SAFER grant to look at where we're going to be fiscally. It looks like the way our spending is right now, there's a potential that there'll be some funding left over. So we're reevaluating the different buckets that the money was allotted and try to make sure that we spend all of it before the end of the cycle, which will be November of 2025 is when the grant closes. So yes, we could probably ask for a short extension, but it's better to try and get it done within the 4-year limit. And so we're going to work on doing that. We just received our 6th SAFER reimbursement for $231,314.87. The way that SAFER works, you probably heard me say this before, we have to expend the money up front and then submit receipts and then get a reimbursement payment. So the other piece that we've been working on has been the new credit card system. With the name change, we had to change all of our accounts, and that included the credit cards, which did say Maryland State Firemen's Association. So with the new cards that were issued under the new name and the new individuals that got cards, all of the reconciliation and policy reviews being completed, all of the card holders have signed the statement that says what they can and can't use the credit cards for, and all of that's been filed with our office. For the name change, we have completed the process with PNC Baking, received notice on October 23rd that the bank has recognized the name change and that all of our accounts will reflect that. We've completed the same work with the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool, which is all of our savings accounts, and we have done that also with the PNC credit cards. We've not been able to do it with the Bank of America credit cards because there is a set of cash rewards attached to that card. So once you spend, you have cash rewards. If we change the name, we have to close the account that we have and open up a whole new account. So we requested those cash rewards to be refunded to us in a way of a payment, a check. So once we get those funds in, then we'll close the checking account or the credit card account down and then issue new cards. The reason that we have credit cards at both PNC and Bank of America is that certain times of the year, especially around convention, we may in fact exceed a $50,000 allotment, which is our max that we could use on the cards. Also with SAFER, you get multiple conferences that we're paying for, and we could very easily expend more than $50,000 in one purchase. So we have 2 sets of cards at 2 banks, each with a $50,000 limit. And yes, we could ask for a higher limit, but then there are other requirements for that. It's just easier to have 2 cards and just balance all that every month with our reconciliations. I had a chance to talk with Ron Block. We are going to go through a review of our workers' comp through Chesapeake Employers Insurance Policy. So we do that. We received the comments from last year's audit from them. Everything seems to be in line, but we want to make sure that we keep our workers' comp policy up. Chip, I know that's something that you've always wanted to talk about, and so I do have the audit report if you'd like to see it. One of the things that we did receive notice, I did brief the attorney. Odyssey Radio, which is part of CNN, has filed for bankruptcy. The connection is we used them for some of our marketing with radio ads during our last grant cycle. There's no liability on us, but since we were a customer at one time with them, we received notice that they filed for bankruptcy. We have no outstanding liabilities with them, no debts with them, nor do they owe us any money, but it's just a fiduciary responsibility to notify all customers that they filed for bankruptcy. I do have those documents if anybody, a matter of fact, I think the attorney still has them, if anybody wants to review that. As you know, the executive committee approved a loan to the Maryland Memorial Foundation in the amount of $200,000. I talked to Dennis Beard. He couldn't make the meeting, but they are working through the elements of the contract to get the work done that needed to be completed, and it looks like that we will be asked to provide those funds sometime in the March timeframe. Now, he did say that they are working through the state to get the reimbursement for it, which is how they're going to repay us back. But we're all waiting to see what's going to happen with the state and the budget. But that loan will have to be processed sometime in the March, April timeframe. Relative to PNC, we just went through a major review of all of our business procedures. The financial secretary and assistant treasurers were on the call. We're looking at how we can improve our credit card processing, which is used for the convention and some of the payments that come in. We're looking at the use of the credit card machines, Clover, and other elements, just to make sure that that's up to speed and automated as best as possible. Now, one of the things that PNC Bank did recommend is that we change our type of banking system to a Treasury Enterprise account. Basically, it's just a different format of how the bank account is managed. And what it does is it reduces our fees and our costs related to service charges. How it works, based upon the amount of money that you have in your checking account, you then get what they call credits for the amount of dollars that's in the account, and then the credits are used to pay the fees. So the finance team is recommending that we move forward changing to a Treasury Enterprise account. The second piece tied to that would be to open up a money market checking account. The reason for that is that if you look at your balance sheet, you will see that we are almost $2 million in cash in our checking account. None of that is making any interest. Our only interest comes from the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool. So if we move to a money market checking account included in the Treasury Enterprise account, we will start making some interest on those dollars that sit in that checking account each month. So that would be the second piece that would need approval of the executive committee. And then once those two accounts are established, then we will recommend moving some of the checking account funds back into MLGIP, increasing the savings amounts that's in those funds. So those are the actions that we would need to have occur, and that is the report from the treasurer, and I would now turn it over to the financial secretary.
Ron, one question. What is the temporarily restricted funds of the one MLGIP account? It says temporarily restricted on.
That is correct.
What is that restricted?
So that is the funds we put aside to pay for the fire laws books. And, yeah, see, we have a couple things, fire laws books, and then also when we do the strategic planning, we may not do it every year. It may be multiple years before we do it again. So what we do is we take funds and put it in there to hold it. It's restricted for certain things, but because it's going to be sitting for a couple of years. The only way we can make any kind of interest right now is MLGIP. So when we go to the money market, we'll be able to make interest there as well. But temporary restricted is for a specific project, and fire laws books are an example.
And the budget committee takes that into account as we budget each year, knowing what's in those restricted funds, knowing how much we need to budget. Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me a minute. Let Buddy go, then I'll go.
Everything is protected through PNC. Back into the same account. So for example, like the convention fund is close to, I think, like $500,000. It gets, unfortunately, the interest is low with MLGIP, but it's a guaranteed account. You won't lose any money, but you are making it. So we might make $1,000 in interest a month. Goes right back into that account. So it's done every month on a reconciliation basis. The interest is added in. The account is then totaled out, and then all of those reports are then verified secondhand. Bobby Jacobs, as assistant treasurer, verifies all the reconciliations once I complete them. So there's two people that are looking at the books every single month.
Hold on a minute, Steve. Go ahead, Randy. That's right, he's getting ready to bring it up. That's what I was going to ask. Before we go any further, let's address your recommendations on your.
On the motions?
Yes. I'd like to call on Executive Committee Member, Past President Steve Cox.
I'd like to make a motion. The motion would be to direct the treasurer to work with PNC Bank to execute the following actions. Convert the current MSFA business account to a Treasury Enterprise account and open a money market checking account as part of the Treasury Enterprise Fund.
Okay, Randy. Second by Randy. Okay, the motion on the floor to approve the recommendations of the treasurer. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you're up.
Okay, my turn. Very short report. It's that time of year the dues notices will be going out. They've all been loaded in QuickBooks, printed, enveloped, stamped. They're in a bag waiting for January the 2nd so I can make my annual trip to the post office. I do ask everyone wait until they get their invoice. That way we have it official and we can go ahead and get it into QuickBooks when I receive them. That's it.
What's the amount of the dues?
200 per
Thank
company.
you.
And the associate membership is $50, and we have 2 sustaining members at $250.
Do not pay until you get your invoice.
Under budget, we have not received any requests for any changes, modifications, or anybody that wants money. Having said that, though, we're beginning the process of looking at next year. You heard the treasurer talk about our money and what we're doing, and the budget committee's charged with coming up with a recommendation, and that would come through the finance team. But we're also in the process of beginning the preparation of next year's budget. So would like requests to start coming in.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, I have Bobby Aaron, the Assistant Financial Secretary. She sends her greetings, could not be here today. Just wants to remind everyone who does have a credit card, please get the receipts to her monthly. She coincides the statements from the bank along with the credit card receipts. So she balances them every month. Thanks.
Thank you. Y'all done with the financial report?
That's all of us, yes, sir.
Hold on, okay. Teresa got something.
Mid-Atlantic Life Safety Conference was held last month, and the problem that we faced was Babscom doesn't have a credit card. And we went through 8 people at the hotel, and we had to do different things. Well, we called Ronnie and the financial team, and we wanted to say thank you publicly for allowing us to utilize the MSFA's credit card to pay the upfront costs for the hotel. When we met with them first to go over with BWI Marriott, we were never told we could pay. We were told we could pay with a check. We had, and then at the last minute, we had to scramble, and he offered, and we allowed. So we would just want to say thank you. And we have since turned the funds back over to them.
Thank you. Good job. Before we move to the convention committee minute, I want to ask Joe if he's got a report for this, since he comes under finance branch for the VCAF. Okay, y'all can sit right there. Just catch the microphone, Mitch. Mitch, taking the microphone, please. Thank you.
We have no applications today. As of November the 13th, according to Scott Gordon, the balance available to lend from the VCAF is $4,365,000. Now, there'll be another statement out probably next week. We expect to be about $4.5 million available to lend. With that said, after discussions with Craig and myself, we're looking at opening the loan application period in January. That'll run until the end of March. And we will have a meeting the first weekend in April to hear the loan requests, with our next meeting the first Sunday in April, if any appear. But it is imperative that everybody take back to their local associations and companies that please do not come to the VCAF committee with a signed contract. If you come and say you have a signed contract, we will not hear your application. We just can't take that affordability anymore. It's just too dangerous. So that is very, very important. And also, I talked to Steve Cox earlier today. Once again, we are requesting that the post office, since MDEM has moved to Hanover, Maryland, companies are now asking where to send their payments. We would like to keep that post office box in Reisterstown open for 1 year while the transition happens, so money doesn't get lost or mixed up. So Steve said he would talk to Mr. Strickland about that, and hopefully that can be resolved sooner than later. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Joe?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that just comes within his budget, and we're just doing it.
Okay, thank you. Mitch, do you have anything on Ways and Means?
Yes, I do. Real quick. Since the last executive committee meeting, we've done $5,981 at Sunfest. We had 4 good days of weather. Darlington Apple Fest reappeared after several years of absence, and we did $1,149 up there. So far, right now, we have $11,301 in the bank. I've got almost $1,000 turned in today. Hopefully, Jarrettsville's doing a craft show today. Normally, I'm there. I do about $500 in about 8 hours, 6 hours there. Hopefully, I got a crew up there working. We'll have some money there, so I may have another about $1,500 for the bank. Next big event we'll have will be Spring Fest, and note the date change because they're doing Boardwalk Rock, which shoved the car show into the Springfest weekend, which now puts Springfest into April. So, and I've already heard it because my wife's birthday is Sunday, so she said this may be the last Springfest we do because it's her birthday weekend. Anyway, that will be April 24th through April 27th of 2025, and we can use anybody who can help. And we had a little incident happen, and I've told Hartford Cecil and the Hartford County crew, but we actually handled we call it a PI rescue in our booth at Sunfest. We had a guy who was in a scooter, one of those scooters. He came up to the table to buy tickets. He never stopped. He hit the wrong button and he hit the table full force. Table flew in the air, money box went flying, tickets went flying, caught Darlene on the knee as he went by, and then the table came down on top of him. We actually had to perform a rescue to get him out from the table. So, you never know. Don't turn your back, because I had my back to the table. I was working on tickets. So you got to be careful when you're out there. You never know where they're going to come from.
They were in a hurry to buy a ticket.
Yeah. They were from Falston, Hartford County, so I can't,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they bought tickets.
good. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the convention branch.
Convention branch. Okay.
Look, half
That's
of 'em
on me.
getting up. All your friends are leaving.
Well, that's the money, guys. They're going to go back and count some more. We'll get the convention together.
There you go. Got new friends. Got new friends now.
It keeps changing. All right. So a couple things that I want to touch on. The convention steering committee got together in Annapolis on Thursday to talk about some proposed changes and an update relative to where we are in planning for 2025. The first major piece that is going on is succession planning. And I think you probably know, but if you don't or haven't heard, Robbie Blackiston from Suttersville has agreed to take over as convention chair. I've been doing this now, oh gosh, I don't even know. My first convention was when I was a sergeant in Prince George's County Fire, to give you an idea how long it's been from when we got involved with working on the convention. And that was a time when people like Ralph Small and Charlie Burton, Marvin Gibbons and Leonard King went to Prince George's and said, can you help us with, yeah, exactly. Can you help us with the audiovisual? And I was the management intern in the office, so I was the one at the bottom of the pile and got assigned that. So that's how long I've been involved with the convention. But let me say, I have no intentions of leaving. I have no intentions of stopping. But I firmly believe that part of my responsibility as a chair is to find younger individuals to come up and take over and help them to manage a convention the way it's been managed for the last 120 odd some years. So Robbie's agreed to take it over. He couldn't be here with us this weekend. His daughter's graduating, and of course, family first, so he's doing graduation activities. But he wanted to make sure that he had relayed to each of you that his commitment is to continue to provide the best convention we can for our membership. So as far as succession planning goes, that is underway. Plus, if there's anyone that wants to be part of the convention committee, we're always looking for new blood. So please reach out to us. We'd like to sign you up and put you on one of the projects, whether it's a Go Team, AV, logistics, whatever it might be. So we're looking forward to that. Another piece, I had an opportunity to sit down with Mayor Meehan in Ocean City. Just a couple updates. The parking garage is back on the table to build a parking garage on the municipal parking lot in front of Thunder Island. So they are working through contract proposals, and then they will need to go to the Stadium Authority to get the funding for it. And they want to include some additional exhibit space. And I'm not exactly sure how they're going to shoehorn that in there. Roger and I were talking about it the other day, but there's a plan to add some more square footage to the exhibit space, somewhere in there. So the mayor did relay that the town will come back to the MSFA. We have been involved in all the legislative processes to get funding for the convention center. So at some point, the town will ask us to assist in going to the legislature to try to get that funding approved through the Stadium Authority. Happy to report that an escalator contract has been issued. I know, thank God. So they're working through that to replace both of them, get that done, and the contract has been signed. It's just a matter of getting the work in. The cost for the convention center has gone up slightly, nothing significant, but considering we get that entire convention center, all the space, all the amenities for about $36,000 for the week, that's the best deal in town. It's a significant reduction from what any other group, including the cheerleaders and all the other groups, pay. So that is kind of that return on investment for the way that we help the convention center. It helps us in a way of a major discount. Also want to announce that the mayor did mention that his prayer breakfast is on January 9th. So we're all going to propose to get a table for the MSFA to attend, and so we'll be looking for anyone that wants to go down to the beach and attend the mayor's prayer breakfast. It does start mighty early, I think 7:30 in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning. So maybe some of those that live at the beach might be able to get there on time. But we do want to be able to support that. So relative to the convention committee discussions, a couple of things. First of all, the host hotel will be the Grand Hotel again. We're working through a contract with that. And the first convention planning meeting for 2025 will be on January 6th at Odington. And we'll be working through those elements as we go through. Now, some items up for discussion. At the convention steering committee, we talked about reducing the number of exhibit days to 2, just 2 exhibits on Monday and Tuesday. That is a direct result of the input we got from the exhibitors. As we all know, the weekend hotel rates are pretty pricey, and a lot of the vendors were concerned about the Saturday rate for a hotel for their staff. And so we know that we really get 2 days of bodies down there. Either Wednesday's really late or Sunday's been really late. So we're recommending going to just Monday and Tuesday, 2 days of exhibits, both inside and out, and propose that to try. Second thing is we're probably going to just do classroom sessions only. The hands-on was a great idea for a while, but we just don't get the attendance. And I think it's the same issue we have as everything else. We're competing against the beach. We're competing against Secrets and Fishtails and all those other places that people want to go, along with family activities. So we're going to stick to just classrooms in the convention center for those days as well. The other piece is we're looking to maybe expand the trophies to include kind of a little bit more of a celebratory event, maybe some additional food, kind of have a closing activity when we do the trophies. We're going to look at seeing if we could, entice more people to attend, to see about the trophy winners, and to acknowledge those people that participated in the parade. We are looking, as part of the PNC credit cards I talked about with my other hat, we're looking at using QR codes for some of the ticket purchases. That's the latest and greatest with cell phones. So we want to talk about that a little bit. We're going to see how that works out with the credit card systems that PNC is going to propose to us. And one of the pieces that we need to fine tune, I've talked to Doyle about this, but one of the areas that we continue to get a lot of issues and concerns are the award ceremony, the award notifications. I think that we've had those discussions at this very committee before, but we need to address that downstream. I think Doyle was working on some ideas, at least he told me that the other day we met. But the one area that gets the most concerns from our membership is, in fact, the awards program. The last piece is one of the things we're recommending and what we believe would benefit our membership, and this is a little bit different, but take the Thursday morning executive committee meeting, incorporate that into the Wednesday program. Not have a major program presentation on Wednesday morning, have the elements of the convention, and then go into the executive committee meeting, and then close that out, do the raffle, and then people go off to the parade. Here's why. A couple of things. It would allow those people that are in the convention center for those activities to see how the executive committee works and functions. It will increase, I believe, the number of people who have a better understanding and want to maybe get involved with the executive committee. And what it does is it frees up Thursday for people to have some family time, to consider doing other activities with their families, and it doesn't drag everybody back into the convention center for another hour and a half. Now, granted, if something major were to come up that there needed to be a major discussion or a major intervention of some sorts, we could always call for a special meeting on Thursday if we needed it. The time slot is there for the convention center, but I think what it does is it helps consolidate the package, reduce the main program so we don't have one on Wednesday, and incorporate the executive committee into the convention. So that's something that this group would have to approve, but it's a recommendation from the executive committee, from the convention committee. And no, we're not asking you to do that today, but I think you're going to want to kick that around, have some discussions. But it's a recommendation from us to consider. Yes?
Would that expand the Tuesday session to an all-day session?
So what we're also talking about Tuesday is eliminating a main program presentation in the middle of the awards, because that was a major complaint last year. So have all the awards together. Now, whether we did a program before the awards or after, but it really won't expand the time too much. I mean, last year, other than we had to wait to announce the raffle because we're set by our permit of when that has to be announced under the gaming laws, Wednesdays are fairly light. And if we took the main program presentation out and didn't have an educational session, we could have the executive committee session fill that slot. So I don't think it'll impact Tuesday that much.
I just remember in the years past, Tuesday used to be an all-day session, and then they stopped it, I believe, when it was Lee's Act. They stopped it to where, like, lunchtime, we shut down and everybody went home.
Right.
Everybody left the convention center. And then that put more stuff on Wednesday.
Yeah, so what was happening was we were having educational sessions morning and afternoon. And so we reduced one of them as well. We wanted to try to give people time to get down to the exhibit hall. That's one of the issues that we heard. I need to get time to go down to see the exhibits, and we want that because if the exhibitors are happy, they're paying the bills. So we also did have a discussion with the ladies' presidents, and they think that if we did that Wednesday executive committee, it should align with theirs so that their new presidents could still come up, address the executive committee, and then finish the business they need downstairs in D Hall.
And Tuesday has the awards, so that's the bulk of Tuesday. So like Ron just said, either we would have the keynote before the awards or after, but it's not going to affect the time for Tuesday at all.
So, yes, it's change, it's something different, but I'll be honest, we're trying to figure out how to keep people engaged in the convention. And I think that, I mean, the Thursday is nice for everybody to kind of visit and all that, but you have people that want to get in and get out, you have people that want to spend some time with their families. It's an option, and it's something that, you know, we could try, and then if it doesn't work, we could always go back. But we do believe that it would invoke more people to be involved with the executive committee as well.
And just so you all know, I do have a copy of the proposed agenda or program with the changes highlighted. I just didn't hand it out before we sat up here, but I'll hand it out to everybody so you all have a chance to look at how the timeline works for each day.
Eric?
Anything?
Kate, you mentioned about the awards and the keynote and the position that they were going to be in. You know, because sometimes you probably have a keynote that's coming from a considerable distance. Should the keynote be ahead of the awards? That way we actually have people sitting in the audience. And do
That all
the-
depends, yeah, and that's
I
up
I would
to,
make that a motion that we do that, because I would not like to have a keynote show up and then nobody's there because everybody got their awards and then they left.
right. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I mean, that the way we were thinking about it, and, you know, is to have it before. And this way everybody sits in on the keynote and the place is packed because they're waiting for the awards to
They'll sit there
start.
for their award, and they're going
Right.
to get an award.
And it's only a
so-
45-minute keynote, so it would be, what I'm assuming it would be before the
I mean,
awards.
I think that would be our better option, is to have everybody sitting there and listen to the keynote and then do the awards after.
Yes.
Right, and Kenny Bush and I spoke about that earlier, and with Kate, that's one of the discussions. The issue is, though, not to break up the awards. Once we start the award program, have it run through.
Well, that's what I'm saying, have the keynote and then do the awards, not break it up.
Oh,
Right,
yeah, no, that was.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because if you do the awards and everybody's going to leave, and then you got a keynote, and then there's nobody sitting there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Am I correct, the air show hits our weekend this year?
In the front end, yes.
Okay, that's all.
And
So
that.
book your hotels now.
And that piece to go to moving in for the exhibitors on Sunday is also a key point for this year, because hotels are going to be at a premium for the air show, so it'll help our vendors not have to shell out thousands of dollars for that for Saturday night.
Questions? So the
Anybody have any
executive,
questions?
the convention committee is going to meet January 6th.
Yep.
We're going to kind of fine tune all of this, other than what the wishes of the executive committee are with your meeting on Wednesday. And I'm assume, Mr. Chair, you'll probably have some kind of discussion and then let us know downstream if you want to try it. It's your decision, not ours, but that's the recommendation of the convention committee. Okay? We can do it
Yeah,
then.
he's gonna meet in January, but,
Yeah,
We have to
we need
present
the-
the
we need the
program to your
program
next
soon.
executive committee meeting,
Yeah.
so we need to know
okay.
thereabouts.
So you need a decision today now, or you wanna wait till after
Mail
you
out.
get
The
convention
program,
committee
mail out.
meeting?
Goes out.
If you want to make a decision today, feel free, we'll take it, but if you want to have time to discuss it,
All right, give us a few minutes here. Go ahead there, sir.
I'll make a motion that we support the recommendations conceptually.
Get your hand up, you just scratching, ain't you? Yeah, his hand up. Dale, go ahead. Okay. You got that? Steve and Dale. All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendations of the
Oh, wow.
convention committee chairman and support his changes at this time to move forward to his committee meeting. All in favor? Hold on, Ryan. His meeting's on Wednesday morning. So,
The new
yeah.
guys Wednesday morning.
he'll already be sworn in
Charlie,
Tuesday.
yeah.
He'll already
He swore
be
in
doing
Tuesday
installation
night
Tuesday
and
night.
Wednesday's his
Sworn in
day.
Tuesday night.
to help you?
It's all Charlie then.
Charlie, you gonna be around?
We'll find out Tuesday night if he's gonna be back on Wednesday.
If you stay over there by the skip, you still snowed in.
Okay, we got a motion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion so carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, something else?
The only thing I have is that the RFP is still out for instructors to teach at the beach. It will be open till January 15th. We have 10 classes already. We have a couple more that I'm going to work with Steve and Mifrey to have some in-state sessions in our schedule instead of bringing a lot of outside contingency in to teach. We're going to try to use some in-house as well. The skills will be on Saturday and Sunday again as usual. That seemed to work out well the last 2 years. And also the exhibitors will open on January 1st as well as some other registrations online. We're working for the next couple of weeks just to get the convention website up to date with all of the 2025 information. So if you see anything now, it will be up to date by January 1st. And if anything after January 1st, please bring it to my attention, but there should be ready to roll by January 1st.
Thank you. Randy, you got anything?
Yes, we still are welcoming new or anybody that want to join the convention committee. As you well know, we got the same folks that are not spring chickens that are doing the most of the grunt work. So any and everybody or assistants that we can are interested in joining to help us, we welcome it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me see. Transportation branch is up there, Bill. Wayne, Transportation Committee, Wayne is up, and then President's Car Committee. Next up will be Legislative Branch, Legislative Committee. Be after these guys.
Good afternoon, folks. Just a couple things. We've had some problems with folks applying for tags and their name is not on the registration for the vehicle. The member of the fire company has to be on the registration of the vehicle in order to be able to apply for tags. So they're being rejected and sent back. I sent out with the minutes or the notes a form that I made up a letter for old logo. If you see somebody with the black and white FD tags that are before the 5,000 or the 55,000 series, you can put this on their windshield, use it, and try to get them to renew and get their new logo. Faded tags, saw a couple out in the parking lot where the paint's falling off. There was a bad batch, so if anyone wants to get tags, doesn't cost you anything. Just fill out a VR9 form and send that into the office. You can get the tags replaced, and they are replacing it with the same number. We have some delinquent recertifications still. We're 2.5 years out from, the initial recertification push with the $10, and we're now 2.5 years away from doing it again. So some companies we know don't have any at all because they went to their own company tag logos. So please have your reps send in that we don't have any so that we can note that, because it looks like they haven't recertified. And if they haven't recertified and someone is applying for a tag, we're not going to honor it until the company recertifies. So they're not going to get their application processed or their issue taken care of until that company recertifies. There are a couple counties which I passed out of what I had as far as our lists. Frederick, Washington, Kent, Queen Anne's, and Caroline, we've heard virtually nothing from as far as the company's recertification. So we need to get on those folks to get the recertifications done. And I had a question about Orange Easy Pass, the non-revenue Easy Passes that we have. they are Maryland-only Easy Passes. You can attach a credit card to the serial number on those tags if you take your vehicles out of state, like Delaware, New Jersey, or wherever, to have work done or go to conferences, meetings, and such. But they'll send you a bad boy notice that compounds itself until you pay it or get it taken care of. So please know that they are non-revenue. Sometimes you'll get a pass, mostly from Delaware, if they see it's an emergency vehicle, like you're going to Ocean City or something, but a lot of times they'll send you a bad boy notice and you gotta pay a fine and a fee and such. So, if you have administrative vehicles that are gonna be going to, meetings and such that are out of state, I would attach a credit card to their serial numbers on the orange Easy Pass, and, that way you don't get zinged with a big administrative fee from an out-of-state transaction.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, President's Car Committee.
Go, Mitch.
Okay, I'll start this one. As Wayne just said, the MSFA vehicles, I believe we're using Ron's credit card, is attached to the account. So when we take our vehicles out of state, it not flags, but it will charge our account the appropriate fee, and then it goes off of his card. It's either his card or my card. It's one of them. But they're being paid, so we're covered. We have a recall that I just received yesterday on the auxiliary Durango. President Stefan has the notice, so she'll take care of that. The only other thing going on with the president's vehicles, well, actually all of our vehicles, we currently have 11, counting the trailers and the cars. The name has been changed on all the titles. We received new titles. Secretary has them. They'll be going in the safety deposit box at the bank. Same thing, we have 11 tags that were received. We have the new tags that says firefighter on it instead of fireman. Some of the cars have those changed. I have them, the rest of them with me today. I'm going to go downstairs now and start walking around the parking lot. This is for the trailers and the cars, whatever we have here, and switching out tags. And also have new registration cards with the new name on it, and be doing the same thing, putting the registration cards in the vehicles. And I'm going to have to track all the trailers down because they all have to be switched out also.
That, we're in the process of wrapping trailers so that people know it's our trailer, and it also serves as advertisement for the Maryland State Firefighters Association. So you'll see a lot of that with the trailers as we can track them down.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Next up, Legislation Branch. Teresa, for the Legislation Committee report. Thank you. And then the Federal Oversight's next, Harv Woods, Fire Laws Book, 17 State Circle. And then Bob Cumberland for out of state.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you know, the legislative session begins on January 8th. This morning I tested parts of my system to ensure it was working, and I did send to some of, but not all, the Legislative Friday meetings. Those meetings will be conducted at the Taylor Avenue Fire Station in Annapolis at 10 o'clock in the morning. We do have a virtual platform that you can call in on. And the Monday afternoon meetings, Sam did send out that to the caucus group, and that will begin that Monday following the first session. We have not seen any pre-filed bills yet. We don't have that ability as of yet. I just looked at the system, it's not there. They're testing their issues. I was actually on a couple of weeks ago looking for something else, and I know someone that sits in the senator's office, and I called her because they actually had the start date wrong on the site. So as we were talking, they were able to correct that. So they didn't even know that they had done it wrong. I will be testing the Thursday report process on our side. I did set up my MGA account again this year to ensure that that's working. And going forward, if you don't receive the report, please let me know. I'll get you on there. Again, it'll be broken down for the fire laws, broken down for the fire marshal, you know, all the ones that we're supporting. I do know that the juvenile laws are a hot topic right now. The president, the speaker, and the governor have been called out by various groups about the crime rate that the youths are dealing with, and we might see more laws changed. Speaking to a juvenile services coordinator in Kent County, we have a 17-year-old that has 3 malicious burns, and we will be talking to him because he should be facing charges, but because his age, they were able, well, he's 17, he should have been charged, but at 14, it's kind of caps it, but they put him into the program. So myself and Fire Marshal Childress will be meeting with him Monday in Kent County. What is unique about this year is there are a lot of positions being changed around within the legislature. Following some of them, the governor is moving some people around. Lukey is now going into a different role. He's going into the budget role, so that means his position opens up. So we'll be seeing and waiting to find out who that person is. Just knowing there's about 7 positions that the governor is moving people around. Either people are leaving or they're taking another within his cabinet, and then that they got to find to fill it. So other than that, Chief Phillips and I did meet about some of the things that we're concerned about for this year, and we had talked a little while ago, and I think the biggest loss, what we know is some of our, which is not a loss really, but we've had 2 people that were in the Maryland State Legislature. They're now either a senator or a congressman for the United States. So I really think that that will help us on that level. So there are people we could go to. So once we know more about what this session is going to look like, I do know that the budget is a major issue. Again, this morning they reported that this is the worst that Maryland's had a budget in the last 25 years. So it's evident. The state police, I can tell you the state police budget was cut a couple $1 million, and the fire marshal's budget wasn't really affected in that because we're just like a little cog of that, but still it really changes the way the state's taking and moving things around. Other than that, waiting to find out what the pre-filed bills will be. I'll know more, and then we'll just start. And then I do know that the LAMSFA side, the ladies, they've already talked, and we have people coming in there, and we've got the schedule all set up. So I do know that Chief Phillips has the paperwork for everybody to go get their badges, and that you have to go to Annapolis for that. And then that'll be scheduled out, and then just waiting to see what happens this general session. I don't know, we'll see.
Question for the legislative committee. Question, you were talking about the deficit. The state of Maryland pays $5.4 million to the IRS when we find. That's on top of our current deficit. To settle a lawsuit where the state of Maryland had to pay out an additional $54 million. That's on top of the deficit we already have. Have you heard anything about Senator Kagan bringing back her 911 bill? She's been visiting 911 centers around the state. I was wondering if you heard anything about bringing that back up.
What is she trying to do?
311?
Well, okay, so let's talk about the 311 issue. 311 issue will not state, as a statewide 311 system, will not work. That has already been discussed to her. I don't know why she keeps on doing that. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna keep, well, yeah. The comments will be stayed in my head. But what's unique about the 311 system is it's based to your county, and I don't understand why she's trying to manipulate this away. She has been told countless times in other hearings that it's not gonna work, not just by the 311 people in the counties itself, by current state legislators that work with her. So I don't understand why she's doing it. She is the chairman of the 911 board, or whatever she is in that fashion. So she is going to be going to 911 centers, because I think that's all she's got. But that's what it is, and we'll see. But again, I don't know. We can't see any pre-filed bills yet. So if she's done something, I have no idea.
Thank you. Federal Legislative, Harv.
Thank you. We have a little bit. As I noted in the report, I believe you all have my report electronically. Capitol Hill is obviously rather unsettled, to put it mildly, at the moment. Trying to follow appointments for the incoming administration. One of the things there is all of the attention is focused on cabinet level appointments, secretary of this, secretary of that. What we need to keep an eye on, what I'm trying to do, is see as soon as I can who the incoming people will be, such as the U.S. Fire Administrator, Director of the National Fire Academy, the Superintendent actually I think is the title, Deputy Directors in FEMA, and so forth. The people that will be having at least some interaction with the folks like us who are out there with boots on the ground getting the job done. So I'll continue to follow that. Hopefully you have a report on all of these positions for the next meeting, if they should be done by then. I mentioned the OSHA situation. We've kicked OSHA around a couple of meetings now anyway, and thanks to past President Cumberland keeping an eye on things down there as well. It looks like things are going to be dragging a little bit with this proposed upgrade on OSHA regulations. I say that based on prior history. The incoming administration is not too keen on tightening up what government agencies can, I got that backwards. They don't want to tighten up any further on what legislative actions that the various agencies can take. They want to loosen them up. So what the incoming president will do with OSHA remains to be seen. No administrator has been appointed as of yet, to the best of my knowledge. We're just going to keep an eye on it and hope for the best there. But indications are that this may really be a very minor thing in the end. I have here a copy of a statement issued by Department of Labor back in September. It didn't receive much attention at the time. There's a couple of sentences in here that indicate that OSHA did not do their homework when they started on changing the regulations in regard to volunteer organizations and volunteers themselves. They sought information, they got it. They got hit over the head with it. There was a public comment period that was open. It was extended. And they got a lot of comments, most of which, if you read between the lines, most of which probably took them quite by surprise. So as it looks now, I believe this will be a very slower process. There won't be a mad rush to implement anything for OSHA. The only other thing I have, there was action, even though Congress had been in recess, there had been action on a bill that provides through 2028, it will provide $5.5 million a year to continue to fund the National Firefighter Cancer Registry. That in itself is a big step in the right direction. We keep that going. And last, there's been legislation in the works, but I don't have a copy of it, that to allow, excuse me a second, to allow Medicare to reimburse first responders, probably in most cases be paramedics, paramedic level, or EMTs where there are no paramedics available, who provide emergency medical services to patients without transport. Right now, my understanding is right now that if you're going to bill a patient for services, there has to be transport involved. Any paramedics in the room know better than I, please let me know. If that is the case, this proposed legislation will allow paramedics and EMTs to take care of patients at their home or workplace for minor incidents and still be able to submit for reimbursement for doing that.
That ties into what President Sloan said earlier about telehealth and giving the doctor on the computer while you're still at the house, and you don't transport the individual, which will allow you to receive funds to do that.
Right.
Which
I
you can't
can't
do right now, so.
comment officially, but there is a problem going on right now with one of the major ambulance billing organizations. I don't know if anybody else is having any problems with it, but down our way, there's been some problems. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So if y'all are engaged in the ambulance services and you bill for services, you keep an eye on what's going on with your operation there. Just a tip. Any questions?
Just to add on to the OSHA thing, what Chairman said about OSHA has now reopened another comment period, and that comment period I think runs to January the 17th from when they shut down the public hearing. The next day they opened up another public comment period where you can send comments in. So if you still haven't sent your comments in about how this will affect you, I would recommend that you go ahead and do it now, between now and January 17th. Also, one other thing we got to remember, Maryland is an exception to this rule because MOSH can write their own rules. They can't be less than what OSHA's rules is, but they can be more. And there are 28 other states in the United States that fall under that same situation. These states, there's a lot of states that says that OSHA doesn't affect us. Well, maybe they don't, but in the 29 total states in the United States that they have their own OSHA organization, those organizations can do whatever they want into the state to make it more than what OSHA is. So I know with the committee here in our state, they're looking at that, and I think they're working with MOSHA on that. But you got to remember, we are exception to that rule under OSHA.
Go ahead.
We meet on the 22nd, but, you know, as you said, even the folks that don't think they're under OSHA guidelines, and I was invited to go out to West Virginia here just about that for and from the previous year. And their fire marshal was saying they're not a MOSH state. They actually brought somebody in from OSHA, from their capital, and said, even though we're not an OSHA state, we still have to abide by the law. There's no way you're getting out of it here. So, and even let's say this doesn't go forward, MOSHA has told us here in Maryland that they still want to move forward to have some regulations on how we function as a fire service.
Right.
So that is still on the table, even though it may not go nationally. Locally, MOSH still wants to move forward because of the fire-related deaths that we've had with our firefighters here. So we still have to pay attention to that.
Right.
So just don't think it's off the table just because the elections occurred and you got new people coming into town. So it's still on the table, and that's still dollars and cents that we're gonna get tagged to. So, and we went through all 800 pages, line item by line item, you know, to try to protect us for MSFA, MIMS, MIFRE, Maryland Chiefs, the different Metro Chiefs. I mean, so that's ongoing, and like I said, we've got a meeting coming up next week to go back and hit this again. But Harvey, you mentioned a question about EMS billing, and I'm kind of, is that local, or is that something that we need to do here? Or do I need to address it like SEMSAC or EMS board? Is it something locally with your EMS billing outfit, or?
The federal government, one side of the federal government has passed legislation.
Yes.
It's in the hands of the other side now to approve it or not.
And all that does is align that when you show up for,
It's not me.
when you show up for a service, typically some of the folks that are doing EMS billing don't get billed when they show up. This would allow them to actually charge for them, the EMS providers that are doing billing, to actually get reimbursed for that couple minutes that you're there. But you got physicians saying, okay, let me sign off, the person can stay there, and you're charging that fee for service, so you're just not doing that at no cost, because that's what your system's built on to. So that's a plus. You show up, here's my basic cost, and they're just trying to recoup that. So that again gets rolled into the mobile integrated health that we're doing. You know, people are setting these processes up, but they don't get reimbursed back for it.
Eric, I think to answer your question, I think, yeah, we ought to follow up, keep an eye on this.
We are. I mean,
Locally.
it's not. We hadn't forgot that. I mean, we're. Let's just say that we're at odds with where Motion wants to go and what we want to see happen.
I know I had walking pneumonia, and I called the ambulance. They come up, took my blood pressure, and said, "You don't need to go to the hospital. Go see urgent care." Just 3 days ago, I got a bill for their coming to my house and telling me that from my local EMS department.
Yeah. Well, and again.
And I understand that. Yeah. But I took my own blood pressure before they come too. Took my
That's
own
what I'm
temperature.
saying. You know, we're showing up, and that's what we shouldn't be doing, is having providers show up and do that, and then something happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And we see that at the EMS board. That's what I'm just trying to folks to take back home, is that when you show up, do patient care so that we don't have and get somebody falls in the cracks.
Right.
That looks bad on us.
All right, let's move on.
I think Harv also alluded to, some of the major ambulance billing companies got hacked over the summer and past year, and that's a big issue also. So if you're using some of those companies, they've not been able to give us back the funding that we took calls for. So that's a big issue.
That's jurisdictional, that's not statewide.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
jurisdictional.
so, yeah, I wasn't sure if that was some
All right.
global approach.
Let me do him while he's up there. All right. You ain't got nothing anyway. Out-of-state coordinator, you're out.
Yeah, two states I've been able to make contact with. Of course, you've got my written report, I hope. West Virginia this year is in our backyard at Charlestown at the casino. Their meeting will be at the casino, and the hotel's right next to it. The big change in our partners to the north is Delaware. They were supposed to go to Wilmington because it was supposed to be in Newcastle County this year. They're going back to Rehoboth Beach. And the hard part, as our convention committee knows, because we booked a convention center years ahead of time, Delaware's convention is going to be all parts up, different places. Part of it will be every other day at the convention center because they couldn't get that date that they hold their convention at the convention center because it had already been booked for some other stuff. So like we normally attend the memorial service and the luncheon when we go on Thursday, Well, this year, the memorial service is going to be on Wednesday, and the luncheon's going to be on Thursday. So, and their business meeting's going to be on Tuesday. And for the ladies, everything's going to be on one day, on Tuesday. Their luncheon and their meeting will be all in one day. So, just wanted to give you that. Also, I have, because rooms were hard to get, working with their secretary, Emma Steele, I was able to hold a block of 8 rooms for MSFA. So I do have the availability of rooms if anybody wants to go down to Rehoboth Beach for the Delaware Convention for the 23rd to the 22nd, or 25th, I'm sorry.
No, September, right?
22nd to the 25th.
Of September?
Yes. And also talking with the executive director from Virginia. Looks like the Virginia State Firefighters Association and the Ambulance Association are going to split again. So if that happens, I think Virginia will go back to August, and we'll go back to Hampton Roads. But that has not been officially made.
Okay. A fire law books. Thank you. Alice, 17 State Circle. Frank, you got anything? I knew you were up there somewhere about law.
Can I do my historical and archives too when I'm here? Somewhat same. I was out State Circle it's been a little while ago. I updated, they have plaques inside that have the officers and the administrative people on the plaque. Normally you can just, take the bottom and move everybody up and just have to do one. But every time we change the committee chair or we change somebody else. But anyway, I've got those are updated. They've been there for a while. It's been a little tough because they've been working on the Capitol building, and I have to sneak in about 6 in the morning and get what I have to do before the inspector person comes by. But that's done. I checked. We have a heater down underneath the building since we put the sprinkler system in. That's set at 40 degrees. So if it gets below 40, it heats up the floor. So that works out pretty good. Historical and archives. We're back in business with the firefighters room. The lady practically cried and told me, please don't give it up or Marriott Corporation would take over the whole place. So I had a community service kid, so we went back up and we cleaned it up, moved some stuff around. I took pictures that I'm going to give to our administrative people to go ahead and update those. So they're back in shape now. Anybody got keys for State Circle? Let me know if they want to give them up, if they don't need to go there anymore. I've been screwing around with Kate. I go every other week and change the lock when I know she's coming so she can't get in. But anyway, that's basically it. The plaques in the MSFA office, which are our Hall of Fame, they're all updated. The ladies' plaque has not been updated because they have, I think, 5 people going in and they only have room for 1 or 2 people. But their committee on the ladies' side is looking at purchasing another one. So we can keep that going. That's it, sir.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions of Frank? Thank you. Emergency Services Branch. It'll be the, we need a short report, Eric, if you got one.
I think I gave it to you.
You already done SIMSAC, I think, this morning, didn't you?
No, I already covered SIMSAC, so I don't think I
Okay, you got anything for emergency medical services?
No, I mean, I gave everything under mine when I was up there. Killed it already.
Okay, how about the ALS subcommittee?
There's nothing
Is
going
there a
on
representative for here for that? Marianne? I don't see her. I didn't see her.
Nope, I covered all mine under there, Mr. Chairman. So
BLS is done?
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Constitution and bylaws. Lee? Yes, sir. Right there's phone.
All right, you all should have gotten my report electronically. The only thing I'd like to remind you of at this point is there have been no changes submitted yet, but the final date for changes is March 17th. According to Article 7, Section 1 of the Constitution and bylaws, that's 90 days before the opening session. Everything that is submitted must come by that date. Now, one of the member companies can submit, or the executive committee, but it has to be in the hands of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee by March 17th. And that's really the extent of my report.
Thank you. That's Charlie's time. Okay, thank you, Lee. Past President Dave Lewis, Grants Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Started on a personal note. I want to thank everyone who called or sent me a note. 2 months ago today, I guess I had an unexpected medical episode. I ended up in the ER, in the ICU, and whether you listen to the nurses or the doctors reported I arrested or I didn't arrest, but all I know is I had 1 round of CPR on my chest, so I know what resuscitation feels like now. So, but I'm well. All the other tests have come through clean, and I'm back to I'll say a new normal. How about that? So I want to thank everyone for your thoughts and prayers. The chaplain coming to see me and there. So I'd like to offer to you this morning, this afternoon, the Grants Committee report. Right now, the FEMA Grants Office is smack dab in the middle of the application period for the fiscal year 2024 AFG program. Applications will be submitted through next Friday at 5 o'clock. So hopefully anyone that's planning to apply for AFG is well on the way and has either submitted or will there. We have $291 million available for grant awards in fiscal year 2024, which is a reduction from the $324 million that we had in the previous year through the NVFC channels and the other major fire service organizations. We tried to get a plus up, but we actually ended up with a drop this year. And so we're going back in fiscal year 2025, depending on how the budget funds out to get that money back. Kate had mentioned something about SAFER opening on Monday. That was the plan, but SAFER and FP&S have been kind of pushed off till after the first of the year to get through the holiday period, and they haven't given us a firm date yet. Again, if you're planning on working on the fiscal year 2024 AFG program, there'll be office hours this week coming. FEMA has some office hours posted on their website. I, through the National Volunteer Fire Council, have office hours on December 17th and 18th where people can come online, talk about if they have questions relative to the grant process, what's eligible, what's not eligible, what they need to do with their application. I've actually offered to host an online office, so that'd be kind of interesting. So all the guidance documents for AFG are online. Again, there was some information that went out over the last 2 weeks from me, looking for anybody that might be interested in serving as a peer reviewer for any of the 3 grant programs. It's really a great opportunity for people who are involved with the grants process to learn, because you'll read a lot of other departments' applications and learn from that. You'll see some good ones and you'll see some bad ones. And I do that every year for the last 20 plus years. Again, we're looking for that. We had a little bit of an issue last year with really not enough volunteers. And part of the fairness of the grant process is that only volunteers will read volunteer applications. Only career will read career applications. Combination departments can read either one. But again, there. So the peer panels are set for early February for AFG and late March, early April for SAFER and FP&S. You can do it either in person or virtual. I do recommend that anybody that's doing it for the first time, they do it in person. That way you have somebody like me that you could tap on the shoulder and say, I don't understand this, what does this mean? Rather than try to interpret things and end up scoring applications unfairly. So we're working through that. I recently had the opportunity, in September, I wrote an article that appeared in the printed edition of Fire Engineering Magazine on how to manage grants. Dave Rhodes, the editor from Fire Engineering, actually contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to do an online webcast, and I just did that this past week. And both the article and the webcast are available online. So we continue to work through the grant process. It's not what we'd like to see. We'd like to see about, when you get $2 billion worth of requests each year and you got $300 million, it doesn't go far. And the cold hard fact is 80% of the applications will be turned down. And that's not because they're not good applications. It's not that they're not needy applications. The fact that there's just not enough money. And so through the work we're doing with NBFC and our other major fire service organizations, we're doing everything we try to do to get the money up. But we wear the wrong uniform. If we put a cop badge on, we'd probably get 5 times as much money, but unfortunately that there. So if any questions, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Dave? Thank you. Sergeant at Arms, and then Investigation Committee be up. I want to see Sergeant at Arms not moving too fast. Go ahead, Ron. Hold on a minute. I'll see her back. You got anything to say, Laura? She's Sergeant at Arms. Oh, she's good. Okay, no report. You're up, Ron. Thank you. Huh? No, it's not on. Here, this one. It's got it's blue.
How about now?
There you go. The investigation or / background check committee has developed a document that has been reviewed and approved by Attorney Farlow, and I would like to meet with the executive committee in an executive session to review this rather than bring it on the floor of the whole committee.
Do you want to do it this weekend, or?
We can if you like. It might be timely. Won't take long.
Okay. So suit everybody to do a few minutes after our meeting today. Meet with Ron. Okay. We haven't done yet. We got a couple more to go, but not many.
Thank you.
Sir, you got something to say? I probably said you had something to say. Oh, he just had a panic attack. Thank you, Ron. We will have a meeting, a short meeting after this executive committee closes today. And you can meet outside, but I'm not. Yeah, go outside when you got to, but not to meet. We can probably go downstairs in the lounge room. Used to be the meeting room over there by the elevator. It should be okay. If not, we'll get some. There's Dave. I didn't know you. Over the library? Yes, sir. Okay. We'll walk across the parking lot to the old library right here. That's our administration building. We ain't gonna stay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Mixed up. You got anything else, Ron? I'm sorry. Thank you. Training branch. Training committee. Is anybody representing the training committee?
Training committee submitted a report.
They are.
The training committee submitted a report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. That's the fire chiefs. That don't have nothing to do with us. That's a different organization. Tim Delaney's over there. Thank you.
MICRB is not here, MIFRE-TEC is not here, MSPQB is not here. We do have Mr.
Safety
Black.
committee's here. I saw the chairman back there.
Yeah, I was going to say Mr.
Chief
Black.
David Black.
Thank you, sir. I feel like I'm in front of the state senate again for hearings. First off, President Kerry, can I get a note from my wife because she's canceled my note for today? I've gotten about 20 text messages.
You don't want no note?
It's her birthday, so she's, but we'll get through that. I'll call you when it's time for me to be buried. Okay. So I sent my report in electronically. I had some concerns. We started out with the new safety committee. We were running, and then it stopped. I had a goal to have the schedule of meetings done as reported. I got 2 before my deadline that I placed on myself. I tried to get one out west. I tried to go regionally. It didn't happen. Just the communication with the contacts I was given just didn't work, and I didn't get replies back. So we tried to get one. We moved into Western Enterprise. Everything went well, and I fell on my own sword because my mentor to my back right here goes, you know, you scheduled it on a Saturday because you always meet on Sundays, and then explained to me why I was getting all of these folks that weren't going to be able to attend. So we did a Zoom. So we did get the meeting in by Zoom. It was completed, which went well. We went over our new goals for the year. We reviewed all of them. Everything went well. So that's where we stand right now with that portion. I did go to Symposium on the Sun. The class that I got the most out of it was on the lithium-ion batteries. I was fortunate enough to be put on the Governor's Commission by President Kerry at the state level. I'm on that commission. We've met multiple times. I have submitted that full interim report from that committee electronically. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that, but it's there for your review. I brought in all the laws from FDNY and all their reporting issues that they're having with their incidents so Maryland can look at it. The commission has 2 folks that were in the room earlier today as well on it. Director Cox and Ken Bush are also in that committee with me as well. We're moving forward, and that committee will continue on until December of next year. And it's got folks on it from the recycle side of the business all the way through to the sales side. So it's very in-depth. I'm getting not a lot of knowledge out of it also. But the state of Maryland is in the forefront with a few other key states in the nation on looking at the lithium-ion battery issues and putting legislation in place. Let's see here. We are looking right now at getting all of our new placards and stuff done with the new nomenclature for the name. We're going to review those so I can get those orders so they're done by convention of next year. I've approached Kate, and I've got to follow up now because now it's January soon. We want to have a joint booth at the convention with the MFSA and FFCA safety committees joined together in one, because it's one face, it's one front. We focus on different things, but to get the message across, we want to stand together during that time. And then our next meeting will be February 9th. It's going to be at Hanover at the Chart Building, so it'll be a tour/learning session there on that topic. I do need some help, though, from the regional directors, executors. We're trying to get statistics on cancer testing in the state. I know we have a cancer committee, but we're looking at it a little point, at a different view. We're trying to figure out those agencies that are doing testing, if any of your members have been flagged or have come out, because I know there's HIPAA involved with it, and said that, hey, this test has found something that's wrong with me. We're trying to gather some of those numbers up. And we can't get that unless I get the support from the executive committee and my committee as well, to go out and ask for that information. I don't want names, I'm just looking for numbers. I do have a contact with one of the testing companies, and they are trying to get those numbers together for me right now, just to give us some idea of what that test looks like when we test in the state. Because if you don't know what's going on, you can't come up with a resolution to try to improve the challenge that you're facing. Pending anybody's questions, that's all I have.
A question on what you want names for. If we're doing cancer testing and what the status is, how many people's has cancer, has been detected with cancer.
Who willingly admitted that they've had a positive from that test.
Yeah, gotcha.
And whatever if you test 50, say Ocean City tested 50, and you've got 3 that have come back and said, hey, I've had issues with this, and I found out because of this test. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yep.
How many have tested and how many have admittedly come back and said, hey, I've got an issue that was flagged during this test.
Yep, we've done a couple cancer screen tests
Yes,
at
sir.
Ocean City with Career Volunteer.
Yes, sir.
And
And
I can't give
Salisbury's
you,
done
I
the same.
can't give you the results, but I will get the results for you.
Understood. And I've got them from Salisbury, 'cause
Yep.
I see them. That's something they do all the time. I know my agency that I'm with now just tested, and it's found 2 already. I was flagged myself. Fortunately, when they removed the growth that I had on the inside of my jaw just 2 weeks ago, it came back negative. But they thought that that's what it was. They thought that's what it was. But fortunately for me, it came out negative. But I'm still on that high risk. I got to go back and be tested again here in another month or so because of all the other flags that are in there.
We've had some for follow-up.
Yes, sir. If that gives it, you gentlemen, what I'm trying to find. Any other questions, sir?
Randy, you got a question?
At least 2.
Oh, okay.
I'll call you, sir, because I got to get to the wife before I get buried. Say again? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. I'll wait for you. I got to
Rural
get.
water supply. Steve. Tell him I couldn't see him.
Good afternoon. My report submitted electronically, so I'll just hit the highlights. We've had 2 fairly successful drills since the last executive committee meeting, one at Preston and one at Waterwitch. So we are continuing to schedule events as we can get hosts. There's a fire in Kent County about 10 days ago that really proved that our word's getting across in some of these trainings. We had an event 2 years ago in Kent County, and the big issue that day was it took a very long time to set up the fill sites because there was no standard method that anybody was working together with about filling tankers. Fortunately, we got that message across to them that day, and Kent County has done some SOPs countywide, how they're going to set up tankers for fill, and it really showed off the other day. I saw a lot of positive posts and information about this fire, and they were able to get a really good water supply set up very quickly, and it was because of some of the standardization they've done since then. So we were really happy to see that. And we continue to be invited out of state. We were invited both to Pennsylvania back in the end of August and to New Jersey back in November to participate and evaluate drills in those areas. So we're getting recognized outside of the state, and we're really proud of that. So, any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Steve, thank you. Thank you for your work on that committee too. It's proven, like you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the past President Sharon Worthington for the Betsy Marshall drawing. And you have the last chance to buy some tickets before she gets up there. He said better work quick. There you go. Yeah. We can leave, I talked with President Dave Fitzgerald, we can leave our stuff in this room and it's going to be secure. Thank you.
Since so many people either leave, they don't come back tomorrow, whatever, we're going to do all this today since there's not names on the back of them. The winning number is 547878.
8 what?
878.
Thank you.
Was it you?
I got it right here. It's yours. You got the same number. Man.
Way to go.
I see
All right,
ya.
Roger. Thank you all very much.
See, when you have your meeting outside, you got something to wrap up in, so that's
I wore that on the way over there to the library. All right, do we have anybody that needs to report today before we proceed to close? Where's all your help at, man? Where's all your help at? Oh, God, I'm working. Okay, I'd like to call Chaplain John Long up for the benediction. And we'll see y'all at, the meeting starts at 9 o'clock, but breakfast starts between 7:30 or 8 o'clock, Dave? 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow, breakfast. It's a continental breakfast. Thank you.
Please join me in prayer. Father God, we give all thanks to you today, Father, for the direction and guidance you gave us. Father, continue to be with us as we fellowship together this evening, and continue with us tomorrow as we rejoin. We ask this all in your Son's name. Amen.